Let me tell you something that nobody in finance wants to admit. I have watched people earn $30,000 a year and die broke. I have also watched people earn $300,000 a year and die broke. I have sat across the table from surgeons with no savings. I have had conversations with lawyers who could not survive a single missed paycheck. And I have known factory workers in Omaha who retired with more financial security than most doctors I ever met. And for a long time, I could not explain it. The math did not add up. You get a raise, you should be richer, you earn more, you should have more. That is how arithmetic works. Except it is not how human beings work. Here is the thing. The problem is not your income. The problem is something far older, far quieter, and far more dangerous than income. It is a force that expands silently with every dollar you earn. It moves the moment you stop watching. It looks like progress while it is consuming you, and it has a name. I call it the income illusion. Today we are going to reverse engineer this trap. We are going to break it into its 5 hidden mechanisms. And by the end of this, you will understand why the single most important financial decision you will ever make has almost nothing to do with how much money you earn. The income illusion, what it really is, there is a law in science called Parkinson's law. It was first described by the British historian C. Northcote Parkinson in 1955. Parkinson observed that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Give a person 1 week to do a task, it takes 1 week. Give them 1 day, it takes 1 day. I spent years watching money follow the exact same principle. Expenditure expands to fill the income available for its consumption. A person earning $40,000 a year spends $40,000 a year. Then they get a raise to $55,000. Do they save the difference? Almost never. Within 18 months, they have expanded their life to consume $55,000. New apartment, new car payment, subscriptions they did not have before, restaurants they could not previously justify, and then they are right back where they started, one missed paycheck from catastrophe, just with better furniture. Round and round it goes. Nassim Taleb, the philosopher of risk and uncertainty, once wrote that a regular paycheck is the functional equivalent of a drug. It trains you into dependency. It calibrates your metabolism to the drip. And every time the drip gets bigger, your metabolism recalibrates upward to match it. The drip is bigger. The dependency is deeper. The freedom is no closer. That is the income illusion. You believe more money will solve the problem. But the problem was never money. The problem is the invisible ceiling that rises with you, always staying exactly 1 floor above your head. The question then is not how to earn more. The question is how to break the ceiling. And to do that, you must understand the 5 mechanisms that build it. Loop 1, the expanding house. I want you to picture something. Imagine you move into a small house, 1 bedroom, modest, you fill it. Every shelf has something on it. Every drawer is used. The house is full. Now you move into a bigger house, 3 bedrooms, twice the floor space. Do you live in a more spacious way? For about 3 weeks, yes. Then something remarkable happens. The new rooms begin to fill. Furniture appears. Storage units materialize. And within a year, the big house is just as full as the small house. Only now it costs 3 times as much to maintain. This is not a coincidence. This is not weakness. This is biology. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. You adapt to your new level almost immediately. The pleasure of the upgrade fades within weeks. The cost does not fade. The cost stays forever. I have lived in the same house in Omaha since 1958. I paid $31,500 for it. It is the 3rd best investment I ever made, and not because of appreciation, because of what I never spent upgrading it. Every dollar I did not put into a larger house went into a business. Every dollar that went into a business compounded for 60 years. You see, my friends who kept upgrading their houses, they were not spending money. They were trading soldiers. Every dollar you consume is a soldier who will never report for duty. And soldiers who never report for duty cannot fight for you. Here is your assignment for Loop 1. Before your next financial upgrade, the bigger apartment, the newer car, the kitchen renovation, sit down and calculate what that dollar becomes in 20 years at a 10% annual return. Write the number down, then ask yourself if the upgrade is worth the number on the paper. Not the price, not the price. The opportunity cost. The opportunity cost. Because that is the real price, and most people never look at it. Loop 2, the identity spending trap. Now we enter the second loop. And this one is harder to talk about because it lives inside you. Here is the question. Why do you buy what you buy? Most people believe they buy things for function. They need a car to get to work. They need clothes to stay warm. They need a phone to communicate. That is true, technically. But it is not why people buy a $60,000 car when a $14,000 car would do the same job. It is not why people buy designer clothes when the discount version keeps them just as warm. It is not why people upgrade their phone every single year. They are not buying a product. They are buying an identity. The social psychologist Robert Cialdini spent decades studying why people make the decisions they make. What he found was that the most powerful force driving human behavior is not desire. It is not logic. It is consistency with the self-image we have decided we belong to. You buy what you buy because it says something about who you are, or more precisely, who you believe you are, or even more precisely, who you want other people to believe you are. I call this the identity spending trap. The trap works like this. You get a promotion. You are now a director. Directors drive a certain kind of car. Directors live in a certain kind of neighborhood. Directors eat at a certain kind of restaurant. Not because these things are functional, because they are signals. They communicate your identity to the world around you. Here's the most dangerous part. The world around you almost never notices. Study after study in behavioral psychology has confirmed that people are far too busy thinking about their own status signals to accurately register yours. You are spending thousands of dollars a year performing for an audience that is barely watching. Charlie Munger, my partner for over 50 years, put it simply. He said that the best way to be happy is to lower your expectations, not increase your circumstances. But the trap goes even deeper than ego, because once you have attached your identity to a certain lifestyle, any threat to that lifestyle feels like a threat to your survival. You cannot downsize the apartment. You cannot drive the cheaper car. You cannot pack your lunch, because to do so would be to announce to the world and to yourself that you are not who you said you were. You become a prisoner of your own branding. Here is your assignment for Luke 2. Take one day, go through every recurring expense in your life. You have, for each one, ask a single question. Would I still spend this if nobody in my life would ever know I spent it? If the honest answer is no, you are not buying a product. You are buying an identity. And identities are the most expensive thing a person can purchase because you have to keep buying them every single month. Loop 3, the comparison machine. This brings us to the third loop, and it is the one that has gotten dramatically worse in the last 15 years. Again, when I was growing up in Omaha, your comparison pool was small. It was your street, your colleagues, your church, maybe 100 people whose financial lives you could actually see. The visibility was incomplete. You saw the car in the driveway, not the payment attached to it. Today the comparison pool is 3 billion people, and it is a curated, filtered, professionally lit highlight reel of every consumption decision those 3 billion people want you to see. The psychologist Leon Festinger identified what he called social comparison theory in 1954. His finding was straightforward. Human beings do not evaluate themselves in absolute terms. They evaluate themselves relative to the people around them. Wealth does not feel like enough unless it feels like more than someone else's. A person earning $70,000 in a neighborhood of $50,000 earners feels prosperous. Move that same person to a neighborhood of $150,000 earners and the feeling evaporates instantly. The income did not change. The psychology did. Now imagine that neighborhood is a phone screen and it refreshes every 90 seconds. So here is what the comparison machine does to your finances. It creates what I call the permanent deficit of desire. There is always someone ahead of you on the feed. There is always a boat you have not bought, a vacation you have not taken, a kitchen you have not renovated. And the feed is specifically engineered, not by accident, but by billion-dollar algorithms to ensure that you feel that deficit as sharply and as constantly as possible. Because your deficit is someone else's revenue. I have never owned a boat. I have never owned a second home. I have never felt the need to demonstrate my wealth through objects because I have never once cared what my net worth looks like to the neighbors. Charlie and I used to say that the best financial superpower you can develop is a radical indifference to other people's consumption choices, not contempt. Indifference, when you stop playing a game that was never designed for you to win, you stop losing it. Here is your assignment for Loop 3. Perform a 30-day social audit. For the next 30 days, every time you feel the impulse to purchase something, Ask where the impulse came from. If the honest answer is that you saw it on a screen or in a colleague's driveway, log it. At the end of 30 days, total the value of those impulse categories. What you will find is that a significant portion of your spending is not desire, it is comparison. And you cannot be wealthier than your comparison pool if you keep spending to match your comparison pool. Loop 4, the future self problem. Let us now talk about the fourth loop. This one is the most mathematically destructive. There is a well-documented phenomenon in behavioral economics called temporal discounting. It was studied extensively by the psychologist Richard Thaler, who received the Nobel Prize in Economics for his work on how human beings make financial decisions. What Thaler found was that human beings systematically and predictably overvalue the present relative to the future. A dollar today feels worth more than a dollar tomorrow, even when that dollar tomorrow would objectively be worth more. And this is why you spend the bonus instead of saving it. It is not irresponsibility. It is your brain functioning exactly as it was designed to function 40,000 years ago. When survival was uncertain, consuming now was rational. Tomorrow might never come. The problem is that tomorrow almost always comes. And when it does, you have nothing. I want you to think about this mathematically. The compound interest formula has three variables: principal, rate, and time. Most people obsess about rate. They chase high-yield investments. They hunt for the hot stock. They want the best return. But time is the most powerful variable by far. A 7% return over 40 years produces 17 times your money. A 12% return over 20 years produces 10 times your money. Time wins. Time always wins. Okay. Every dollar you spend today is not just $1. It is every dollar that dollar would have become. I have a simple calculation I run in my head. I call it the soldier cost. Every dollar that leaves my hands without creating a return is not $1. It is $1 plus every dollar that dollar would have earned for the next 20 or 30 years. At $100, the soldier cost is $200 to $400, depending on the timeline. At $1,000, it is $2,000 to $4,000. At $10,000, it approaches $40,000. Your future self is watching you spend his inheritance, and your future self cannot come back in time to stop you. Here is your assignment for loop 4. The next time you make a discretionary purchase over $200, multiply it by 20. That is the rough compound value of that money over 20 years at a standard market return. Ask yourself if what you are buying is worth that number, not the sticker price, the real price, the price your future self will pay. Loop 5, the wealth switch, how to actually break the ceiling. And finally, we arrive at the fifth loop. This is where the pattern ends. This is the exit. The reason the first 4 loops are so difficult to break is that they are not habits. Habits can be replaced. Habits can be overwritten with sufficient willpower and repetition. What we are dealing with is something deeper. We are dealing with identity. You do not break the income illusion by trying harder. You break it by changing who you believe you are. Okay, let me show you what I mean. There are 2 kinds of people in the world. I have observed this distinction for over 70 years. The first group defines wealth as a lifestyle. Wealth is what they consume. It is the house and the car and the vacation and the restaurant. Wealth is what other people can see. The second group defines wealth as freedom. Wealth is the ability to say no to a bad job, to a bad deal, to a person who does not respect them, to a future that someone else designed for them. Wealth is options, and options do not show up on Instagram. Now, here is the thing. The first group will always spend everything because spending is how they communicate their wealth. If you define wealth as consumption, you will never reach it because consumption is a moving target. There is always more to consume. The second group saves compulsively, not because they are disciplined in some extraordinary way, but because saving feels like accumulating freedom. And freedom to them is more pleasurable than any object they could buy. I call this the wealth switch. And it is not a financial behavior. It is a philosophical one. When Charlie Munger was asked how he thought about money, he said something I have never forgotten. Disupperment was Sal. He said he did not think of it as money at all. He thought of it as deferred consumption. He was choosing not to consume now in exchange for the ability to consume anything or nothing later. The choice itself was the point, not the stuff. The wealth switch changes the feeling associated with not spending. For most people, not spending feels like deprivation. It feels like missing out. It is the thing they resent about frugality. But when you have made the switch, not spending feels like accumulation. Every dollar not spent is a soldier reporting for duty. Every soldier is a unit of future freedom. And future freedom is more real to you than present comfort. Here is how you begin to make the switch. It requires a very specific change in language. Stop saying, I cannot afford that. Start saying, I am choosing not to spend on that. The first sentence frames you as powerless. The second frames you as the architect. You are not constrained by money. You are deploying it with intention. The second change is to make the invisible visible. Open a savings or investment account and give it a name. Not savings account. Give it a name that connects it to what it represents. Future freedom, options, fund, my no fund. The label matters because it transforms an abstraction into an identity. You are no longer saving money. You are becoming the kind of person who builds freedom instead of consuming it. And the third change is patience. Nassim Taleb wrote that the most dangerous thing about wealth building is not risk. It is the illusion of urgency. Most financial disasters are caused by someone who could not wait. The market was moving, the deal was closing, everyone else was jumping in, and they jumped without looking. Boring is powerful, slow is fast. The flat part of the compounding curve is where almost everyone gives up. It is also where the entire game is decided. Closing, let us bring this together. We began with a question, why do people earn more and stay just as broke? Because income is not the variable. The income illusion tells us it is, but it is not. The first loop, the expanding house, taught us that lifestyle silently consumes every raise. Possessions possess you. The house fills to the ceiling no matter how high the ceiling rises. The second loop, the identity spending trap, taught us that most of what we buy is not a product. It is a performance, and performances are endlessly expensive because the audience never fully applauds. The third loop, the comparison machine, taught us that the race is engineered by people who profit from you running it. You cannot win by running faster. You win by refusing to race. The fourth loop, the future self problem, taught us that temporal discounting is biological, not moral. Your brain is not broken, it is ancient, but you must override it deliberately or your future self pays the price. And the fifth loop, the wealth switch, taught us that none of this changes through discipline alone. It changes through identity. When you decide that freedom is more pleasurable than consumption, the whole equation inverts. Saving becomes the reward, not the sacrifice. Here is what I want to leave you with. I have been asked many times what I would do if I lost everything tomorrow and had to start over with nothing. And my honest answer has always been the same. I would not be afraid, because I would still have the operating system. I would still know that income is not wealth. I would still know that compounding rewards patience. I would still know that freedom is worth more than any object. And I would know that the door to that life is open for anyone willing to walk through it. The door is open. It has always been open. What are you prepared to sacrifice to walk through it? Go down to the comments section right now and make a public commitment. Write one spending habit you are prepared to eliminate, not reduce, eliminate for the next 90 days. That is a contract, not with me, but with your future self. And when the 90 days are done, come back to this video and reply, I did it. Because the moment you honor that commitment, you will have done something more powerful than opening a brokerage account. You will have become a different kind of person. And a different kind of person builds a different kind of life